This story comes from a guy named Alex who worked security at a large warehouse on the edge of town. He took the night shift because it paid better and was usually quiet, just walking the perimeter, checking doors, and monitoring the cameras from a small office. One night around 2 a.m., everything was normal. The warehouse was huge, with rows of tall shelves stacked with boxes, and the lights were dimmed to save power. Alex was doing his rounds when he heard a faint noise, like metal scraping against metal, coming from the back section. He figured it was the building settling or maybe a rat, but he went to check anyway. As he walked down the long aisle, his flashlight beam cutting through the dark, the scraping stopped. Then he felt it, that feeling like someone was watching him. The hair on his neck stood up. He called out, "Who's there?" No answer. He kept going, turning corners between the shelves. Then he heard footsteps behind him, soft but steady, like someone trying to stay quiet. He spun around. Nothing. Just shadows. His heart was pounding now. He radioed the main gate, but no one else was on site that night. It was just him. The footsteps started again, closer this time. He picked up the pace, heading back to the office, but the sounds followed, echoing in the empty space. When he finally got to the office and locked the door, he checked the cameras. On one feed, in the aisle he'd just left, he saw a dark figure standing there, perfectly still, facing the camera. It looked like a person, but the face was blurred, like the image was distorted. He watched in horror as the figure slowly turned and walked out of frame. Alex sat there until his shift ended at dawn, too scared to go back out. He quit a week later. To this day, he says he drives past that warehouse sometimes and feels that same watched feeling. And the company still hasn't explained what showed up on that camera. The second story is from Sarah, a nurse who worked the overnight shift in an old hospital that had been around for over 100 years. Parts of it were creepy even during the day. Long hallways, dim lights, and stories from older staff about strange things happening at night. Sarah didn't believe in ghosts at first. She was practical, focused on her patients. But one night, around 3 a.m., that dead hour when everything feels off, she was checking on a patient in the East Wing, a quieter part of the floor. As she walked down the hall, she heard whispering, soft voices like a conversation coming from an empty room ahead. She slowed down, listening. It sounded like two people murmuring, but the words were unclear. She pushed the door open slowly. The room was empty, bed stripped, no one there. The whispering stopped the second she entered. She shook it off as the vents or something and kept working. Later that same night, she was at the nurse's station charting when she heard footsteps approaching. Clear, heavy steps on the linoleum floor. She looked up, expecting to see another nurse or a doctor, but the hallway was empty. The footsteps kept coming, right up to the desk, then stopped. Sarah felt a cold chill, like the air dropped 10 degrees. She glanced around, no one. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw a shadow move across the wall, like someone walking past. She grabbed her things and went to the break room where a couple other staff were. They all admitted they'd heard things too. Whispers, footsteps, even doors closing on them. But the worst part came a few nights later. Sarah was in that same empty room getting supplies when she heard the whispering again, clearer this time. It was a woman's voice saying, "Help me, it hurts." Sarah froze. She turned around slowly and saw, in the reflection of the dark window, an old woman in a hospital gown standing behind her, pale and translucent, reaching out. Sarah ran out, screaming for help. When others came, there was nothing there. Security checked the cameras. Static in that room for exactly the time she was in there. Sarah transferred to day shift after that. She says whatever is in that hospital isn't resting, and it's still waiting for help that never comes. The last story is from Mike, who worked the night shift alone at a 24-hour gas station in a rural area. It was one of those isolated spots off the highway, with just pumps outside and a small store inside. Nights were slow, maybe a trucker or two stopping for coffee. One winter night, it was freezing cold and foggy outside. Around midnight, a car pulled up, a beat-up old sedan. A man got out, came inside, and bought a pack of cigarettes. He was quiet, didn't say much, just stared a bit too long. Mike thought nothing of it until the guy left. Then, about an hour later, the same car pulled up again. Same guy came in, bought the same cigarettes, same blank stare. Mike asked if everything was okay, but the man just nodded and left. This happened 3 more times that night. Same car, same guy, same purchase. Each time, Mike felt more uneasy. The fog was thick. He couldn't see far beyond the pumps. On the 5th visit, Mike locked the door before the guy could come in. He watched from inside as the man stood at the door, knocking softly, staring through the glass with empty eyes. Mike called the police. While waiting, he checked the security cameras outside. On the footage, every time the car pulled up, there was no driver. The car was empty, doors opening and closing on their own. When cops arrived, there was no car, no footprints in the snow around the pumps. Nothing. Mike closed up early that night. The next shift found the store trashed, shelves knocked over but nothing stolen, and in the bathroom mirror, scratched into the glass, "Let me in." He never worked nights again. Some say on foggy nights that car still pulls up to empty stations looking for someone to let it in.